so much for being here every Saturday. If you're new, this is Sidebar. And one thing that I need to tell everybody up front is you need to go to sidebartv.com because we also do the show on social media. And all you have to do is go to sidebartv.com, find the platform that you can deal with, whether it be X or YouTube or Facebook. We have them all. And if you are also new to listening to the show and if you're interested in becoming a sponsor of Sidebar or R-Rated Christianity, and I definitely want to ask for you to you guys to explain it in just a minute. So in case no one has seen it, in case someone has seen it, in case you want to watch it, it's very cool. It's if you would like to become a contributor, all you have to do is text to 210-560-0180. Is that right, Salo? 210-560.
That's your cell number. What are you talking about? You know your own number.
Stop it.
And also, if you're available for dates on Fridays.
Well, no, that's my number. That's my number. Hey, you know what? There was a lot of stuff going on in the news this week here in San Antonio. I mean, everybody's been asking about this. San Antonio City Council approved this $1.3 billion Spurs arena. The feds searched the home, the office of former Trump National Security Advisor John Bolton. His wife looked a little surprised when she answered the door. Kilmar Abrego Garcia, remember we were talking about him last week, released from jail. He's going back to just being a Maryland man. And unfortunately, if he gets deported, I think this time they're thinking about sending him to Uganda. President Trump had his summit in Alaska with Russia's President Putin. And Governor Newsom, man, he's been in the news everywhere. That word gerrymandering that we discussed several times over the last 3 shows, he's now talking about his own. And finally, the Democrats, they're having would you call it a voter registration crisis? I don't know. We're going to hopefully get to most of those topics, but every week you can come here to hear former Bexar County District Attorney Nico Jorge, trial lawyer, managing partner of LaHood Norton Law Group, and George Araujo, scholar, former chemist, pharmaceutical researcher, and director. Did I also mention Jerome Powell thinking about maybe changing the interest rate? What didn't happen this week? Well, I'm not really sure. But I do want to go back to R-Rated Christianity because I've been watching it since the very beginning. You guys have had some incredible shows for the last couple of weeks, and maybe somebody hasn't heard about it. Can you tell everybody about it?
Well, it's different than Sidebar. I mean, R-Rated Christianity is an apologetics podcast, meaning that we give a defense for the Christian worldview or ideology. And so we don't just talk about theological situations. I mean, we do need to talk about theological issues because George and I humbly believe that there's a belief problem in the church, and and you talk about people that just don't know. It's an illiteracy problem, as we call it, and that's not to be disrespectful, meaning biblical literacy. And so we handle social topics, current events, political events through a biblical lens. And it's, it gets a little spicy sometimes. I mean, go figure.
I'd say.
R-Rated stands for real, raw, and redemptive, where it's a play off of the movie system of, when you're grading movies. R-Rated stands for we have real conversations. We do it at times in a raw way because we're not on radio and Kurt's not bleeping us out. But ultimately these conversations are hopefully leading people to a redemptive relationship with a first century Jew named Jesus Christ. And so we just want to be authentic. We want to make sure that we have a fidelity to the word and that we can properly handle it and give a defense for why we believe it's true. That's all.
I've always, George, you're just shaking your head. That's it.
What he said. Yeah. Well, the R-Rated, I was thinking about it. It's funny that on the movie grading system, it stood for restricted content. And I thought, well, okay. I mean, we tend to use once in a while some colorful language to kind of emphasize some of the points that we're making, because some things in life just deserve to be emphasized a certain way. And I occasionally get somebody, Nico, in the comments, what's with the language? Yeah. Somebody says, well, then don't watch. But no, it is not for everybody. I mean, you don't want
but the biblical analysis, I think, is for everybody.
Oh, no,
I mean,
the biblical analysis
you know
most
how you are,
certainly
George,
is.
And George has got tremendous background in theological studies and apologetic studies, and I got a big mouth with an opinion, but I do my studies as well. I mean, it's like going into a trial, and so I like to be prepared for it. And so, and our faith matters to us, and it shapes our worldview. I mean, everyone has a different worldview, and so we want to defend the biblical worldview. And ironically, a lot of young people are coming back to a biblical worldview and to quote unquote religion. But it's the younger voters, and they're coming back because they're looking for structure, they're looking for order, God is a God of order. And look, I think you can make a logical, I love talking to my atheist and agnostic friends, and we just have a discussion about whether you believe in intelligent design or natural selection through random mutation and how did we get here. And look, everyone has to, and I'll leave it on this, everyone has to answer 4 questions. Origin, morality, meaning, and destiny. Origin, where do we come from? Morality, what's the definition of right or wrong? Meaning, what's the purpose in life? And destiny, where do we go when we leave this earth? Everybody, every worldview has to answer that. And we believe the biblical worldview, the Christian worldview, can do that coherently and logically the best that nobody else can. There's answers from other people, but it's got to be backed up by this kind of thing called evidence. And so I'm an evidence-based dude. Yes, my feelings are kind of irrelevant at times, most of the time. But and I'm not saying we don't have experiences. I'm not saying that. Of course, we have an experiential relationship with Christ. But also, you have to back it up with some evidence. And Jesus believed in that also. So I won't get into an R-rated episode here.
I'm sorry because I have to add in one little thing because this is not a topic, but it's funny that you bring that up because didn't a judge put a block on putting the 10 Commandments in schools, which was a law that Abbott signed into law that says that they want to display the 10 Commandments in schools, and there's this judge that says, nah, we're not going to do that because it's religion or something of that sort. But when you stop and think about the 10 Commandments, I mean, they're pretty cut and dry.
Yeah, minus the top. Most people say that the 10 Commandments are good guidance, except minus the top 3 because you have no other God before me. Well, if you're not a Christian, you don't believe that. I get it. But there's got to be a standard. And so we can make the argument. We've done shows on this before. We have put in our country In God We Trust on our exchange of value and our money. Now, that happened between 1954 and 56, but it didn't come up in 1953. This was the culture and the ethos of this country from the inception in the late 1700s and even to the Mayflower Compact in 1630s. And so this goes way back to the inception of this country, that the worldview was a Judeo-Christian worldview. Didn't mean you had to accept Christ as your Savior. I understand, the law that says that you cannot force a national religion, and I understand that. But there had to be some ethos, some set of ideas, some principles that said, okay, this is how we do things. And there was the idea, just look at our Constitution, that we're endowed with these rights by our Creator. It's in our documents. And so what Creator are we talking about? What rights? Because they didn't come from government, so government can't take them away. Government should be protecting the rights that this Creator, quote unquote, and then we can have a discussion on where that Creator is and who it is, gave us and endowed upon us, bestowed on us. And so that is the ethos, that is the ideology of this country. And in that ideology is freedom, right? The pursuit of freedom, right? Liberty. And so that's a whole, we've done shows on that, and I think we can back that up. And it's a wonderful philosophical discussion. I think people should be having it. I think the worst advice, we'll leave it at this, because I know you have 14 topics we need to go through. But the bottom line is the worst advice we got growing up is in public, don't talk about what? Politics and religion.
Right.
Politics and religion. I think that was crappy advice.
Yeah.
Because why not have these discussions about politics, meaning what are you trying to persuade me, right? We've said this before. A good definition of politics is a set of ideas advocated by a group of people to affect the lives of others. That is a good general definition of politics. Well, and then your religion is your worldview. Whatever your religion, Islamic, Hindu, Buddhist, whatever, atheist, that's a worldview. Why can't we talk about that, by the way? We're supposed to be persuading each other. Let's do that. We have a system set up on persuasion, not force, and that's the best way to govern people. Persuade them with good ideas, and then they can make their voice heard through their vote.
Well, it's funny because then the fake news came in. And I bring that up because, yes, all of the things you said are true, but then I read about, Trump being this warmonger and him wanting to bomb everybody, and he's starting wars, not ending them. And then he had this summit with the president of Russia, and I was like, people are still saying that he wants to start wars. Is he, by bringing up these conversations, wanting to go in and start wars, end wars? It's hard to get the truth these days when it comes to, especially that topic, to say, what does Trump want? Does he want peace?
I don't know if it's hard, George, to get the truth if you pay attention. It's hard to keep people make people pay attention.
Yes.
Because we're so busy and we don't want to think about it, and it stresses people out. I get all that. But remember, this is not our war. I think you got to start there. So this is Russia and Ukraine. And then you can discuss on whether it happened and how it started. Look, Russia invaded Ukraine. She shouldn't have done that. No one thinks that Russia is the beacon of morality. The dude's, the guy's a murderer. I get it. And then now, he shouldn't be talking to him. And he shouldn't be doing this. Russia has lost over 1 million of its troops. Ukraine has lost hundreds of thousands of their people as well. I mean, this has been horrific. And if you believe in the sanctity of human life in general, then why wouldn't we be part of this? Our partners in Europe are concerned about this. I understand that. You don't want Russia saying, okay, I can take Ukraine, let me take the rest of Europe. I get all that. And so Trump is trying to bring people together to stop this war. And he's right by saying this. It's not his war. And so I don't know how anybody can criticize bringing them together. I see how they're doing. Oh, he's kissing up to Putin. He did all this, and he's sucking up to him the red carpet. And that's all. He's charming him. I mean, this is all diplomacy. You got to understand that. I mean, look at Newsom cleaning up his streets for China, communist country.
Yeah.
Why'd you do that, Newsom? I mean, nobody criticized.
Yeah.
So again, I call BS on the inconsistencies. I want to see consistency, even from the right. I mean, from the conservatives. I mean, you know me, I call out balls and strikes, and I want to see that. George, say something, please. Where the hell you been, guy?
Well, I mean,
shaking his head yes. On radio.
As soon as you're good, I'll weigh in. But
well,
you're saying a lot of
block by yourself.
No, you're saying a lot.
Okay, George, we have to go to a break.
Okay. It's been nice being here. Thank you, Karen. I'll see you on the other side of the break.
Karen, don't ask me questions. Ask George questions, man.
Well, I'm sorry, and we do have to go to a break. But I'm going to say, when we get back, George, you're going to get to talk. I promise. We're going to shut up. 210-560-0180. Please text to that number. Consider becoming a contributor to Sidebar, to R-Rated Christianity. That's 210-560-0180. And yes, we're taking a break. And we will be right back with more on Sidebar.
With reputations as respected high-level prosecutors in Bexar County, the attorneys of LaHood Norton Law Group bring invaluable practical knowledge from the other side of the aisle, using over 70 years of combined experience to strategically advocate clients' rights and pursue the best possible outcome.
I'm Nico LaHood with LaHood Norton Law Group. Have you been arrested or accused of a crime? The LaHood Norton Law Group has the knowledge to defend you regardless of how small or large your case. In Bexar County, anywhere in the state, or even nationwide, we have the knowledge to defend you in federal or state court, no matter how small or large your case. We are trial lawyers with proven success.
Using their 70 years of combined experience to strategically advocate for their clients' rights and pursue the best possible outcome. The LaHood Norton Law Group. For a free consultation, call today, 210-797-7700. 210-797-7700. LaHoodNorton.com.
This is Nico LaHood. If you or a loved one has been arrested or accused of a crime, we can help.
LaHoodNorton.com.
1200 WOAI, this is Sidebar. Just once again, you might want to write it down, 210-560-0180. That's where you can text to become a contributor to the show, Sidebar and R-Rated Christianity. So back to the summit, the Alaska summit with Putin and Trump. I mean, was it good? Was it bad? I mean, both of you said yes, he's just trying to straighten things out, make the killing stop, Trump is. What do you think about it, George?
I think it should have been framed as a starting point, and that's it. And I think we should have moved on. Unfortunately, the opposite has happened. I think while it's an important starting point, I do, and I think Trump taking the overtures that he did, it certainly helped his poll numbers, for goodness sakes. I mean, a true surge in some polls. The Insider Advantage poll had him up by 10 points in terms of approval. People like to see, I think, communication rather than the lack of it, that's actually what you didn't have under the Biden administration. I mean, and we get it. Putin's a pariah. Europeans hate him. Got that. Biden thought he was the Antichrist. Got it. Mean guy. Got it. But the reality is you got it. You need to settle this war, and what they were doing wasn't working. So you do have to keep diplomatic channels open as much as possible. The problem is when we overplay those, Nico, and we came out of that summit. Somebody please tell me what was accomplished at that summit. I want to know. Because what came out of the summit, it seemed to me, was a press conference, but it wasn't a joint press conference. I went back and listened to it because I want to make sure. I had an uneasy feeling all week about it. I went back and listened to it. I mean, Trump barely got a word in edgewise. It was really Putin's press conference. I mean, he basically went from summit.
Why do you think that happened?
Well, again, I don't know why it happened. That's part of my criticism, is that I don't think there's a legitimate why. So it came out of that summit, and then you remember the talking points that came out. In fact, we were kind of excited on this show. I certainly was, that, okay, the idea of a trilateral meeting, that seems like a great idea. And then at first it started as a bilateral meeting. They said that it was going to be Zelensky and Putin, and then Trump was going to have his trilat. He's going to come in, and he's going to be the third party after the next meeting. So all these meetings planned out. And then Witkoff came out, and then Trump just kind of followed along with the notion, and I don't think it's a valid notion that, and look, Russia has undone this week, if you've been reading the news, they've literally undone everything that our attaché said was supposedly accomplished at the summit. They've literally reversed it. So that, to me, it seems like somebody was playing somebody as a fiddle. And I don't like the idea that Trump was doing that, because I think that
Trump was doing what?
That Trump was getting played. Okay, I think that the left-wing media goes way overboard with that, and then they realize they have egg on their face when they realize that there's actually a method to his madness. But on the conservative side, Nico, I think if you read some of these conservative pieces, the Ukraine war is over. And Trump did it. And last time I checked, there's still people getting slaughtered on the battlefield. Nothing changed is my concern because of what Russia has stated this week. Remember, the big talking point was that there were going to be Article 5 concessions, security guarantees. And for Article 5 language is the North American Treaty Organization. It's the NATO treaty that basically says, essentially, you attack us, you attack one of us, you attack all of us.
Right.
And so everybody agrees that Ukraine's not going to become part of NATO. That's a showstopper. Putin's been clear about that. Trump has no appetite for it. The Europeans have backed off it. It's a non-starter. But what they decided to do is they said, okay, outside of the agreement, let's have some security guarantees for Ukraine where some sort of NATO-supported European troop force will be in Ukraine to provide some sort of security. And Trump, via Witkoff, had stated that Putin was actually on board with that coming out of that summit, when in fact that was not the case. They categorically rejected it and said, we absolutely do not agree with any type of peacekeeping or peacemaking force on the ground. We certainly don't want European troops. And then they drop a term that is just absurd. They said, look, we actually want to be, and somebody explained to me how this is a win for the United States or the Europeans. The Russians have insisted that they be guarantors to the peace in Ukraine. In other words, in addition to the NATO forces and to NATO leaders and the United States, they also want to be a guarantor. In the event there's a future attack on Ukraine, this is a Russian term now to move forward. In the event there's an attack on Ukraine, then a military intervening response needs to be voted on by Russia as well, even if Russia is the one attacking.
Yeah, that's ridiculous.
That's a term from Russia. So they also want no troops on the ground, and to the extent there are troops on the ground, it needs to be UN security troops. So now they have a double veto because they're part of the UN. And so when it comes time for UN troops to actually go in and intervene and oppose an attack, Russia gets a second veto. Those are the terms, and they want to have a meeting between Putin and Zelensky. There's no framework for peace. That's never going to happen. I personally don't mean to be negative about it. But you've got Trump and Witkoff, and to some extent, Rubio has been much more measured, out there saying that X, Y, and Z is going to happen. And in fact, I don't see any difference from where we are today, honestly, than where we were a week ago. And I was much more bullish and positive about it. And conservative media is overplaying this, and I don't think it does us any favors because
George,
it just gives, I think, Putin a platform.
How does President Trump trying to help negotiate an end to this war being blamed for no deals coming to fruition? Like, how is he blamed when he's the one that's just like bringing these guys together to try and make something happen or something stop?
It's inarguable that there have been peace deals and peace negotiations that furthered over the last 2 to 3 months. I mean, the Rwanda Democratic Republic of the Congo, that's a big deal, 30-year conflict. And that has assuaged, and Trump has weighed in. And I think what Trump is doing is look, American economic power really does have the ability to work magic. And if you can, this is kind of what happened with the Abraham Accords. These are individuals who don't really care for Israel and have never, these are Arabic republics who don't care for Israel. But because there is an opportunity here to actually bridge the gap through shared economic and trade goals, they can put aside some of their differences because they can see their people benefiting from this. And Trump has kind of brought that flavor to other conflicts across the world. I'm separating out the Russia thing because Putin is a special kind, I'll say this, he's a special kind of evil. He has an excellent ability. I think it's excellent in the sense it's impressive. He comes across measured, tempered, reasonable. And in the meantime, as Nico always says, he's giving you the old Catucci.
Yeah.
You got to get the whole flavor when Nico does that, the Catucci. Because that's what I'm worried is happening here. And I see Trump reveling in all the praise because he likes that.
Yeah, you know,
and I don't see enough.
But this is nothing new. I mean, Reagan dealt with the same crap. I mean, this is the Russian playbook. I mean, and then Putin's a KGB dude. I mean, Shakespeare wrote what? The Prince of Darkness is a gentleman. Everybody thinks the devil has horns and big old fangs and crooked eyeball. I mean, he's a gentleman.
Yeah.
I mean, Lucifer is the most beautiful angel, right? It's that. So I mean, Putin this is typical. I mean, I don't know what the answer is. I mean, this isn't it. I just thought that press conference was weird. Trump, you know, I mean, that's my last week we talked about it. It was just weird. It was interesting. I don't know if Trump was just playing close to the vest. I mean, it wasn't that he was intimidated. I mean, he had bombers flying over. He was trying to show a show of force. He did his handshake, his body language. I mean, so Trump's not weak at all, and I don't think anybody's compromised by crap. But it's just odd. I mean, it doesn't look like Putin wants anything. I mean, he's continuing to attack. This is typical slippery negotiations of Russians. Reagan went through it. People have written books on it. They say one thing in meetings. They do something publicly. They say one thing, and then they leak information, and they do something else. I mean, this is part of their plan to keep you thinking. So, you know, Trump has the art of the deal. They have their art of espionage and trickery. The Russians do. And this dates way back to Reagan.
It does.
So, I mean, I think the thing that came out of this whole summit and then the meeting is the unity around Trump and the European nations. Trump has taken a lead. People have kind of fallen in line behind him.
That was evident.
And, you know, and that was very evident. I thought it was just ridiculous. I mean, think about how arrogant and evil Putin is. Everybody's talking about Trump's going to get the Nobel Peace. If I'm Putin and as crazy as his ass is, he's probably like, I'm not going to do anything just for that fact. I don't want Trump getting any praise and Nobel Peace Prizes. No, I'm not going to do it. He doesn't care about killing people. I mean, the guy's evil. I mean, a compromise by definition is something where the outcome is not everybody likes it. Like, nobody likes it, but everybody can live with it. And everyone said that was going to be some type of compromise. No one's going to love this deal, but both sides can live with it. And that doesn't seem to have happened.
Yeah.
Right, George?
Yeah.
I mean, so I don't know what the answer is, but it's not going anywhere.
The problem, Nico, is that there's no military solution to this. I mean, Russia is stocked full with nuclear weapons and the ability to deploy them intercontinentally. This isn't freaking Iran. So we got to step back and say, what's the solution? So the diplomacy makes sense. I think that the economic nuclear warhead is coming. I think the economic bunker buster, that's coming. Trump's giving this guy a lot of slack. I do step back and say he has issued a number of ultimatums that he hasn't enforced. He did say, well, you got 10 or 12 days back on whenever it was, July 24th. That came and went in August 8th. Yeah. Then he gave like a 50-day, and that's going to expire soon in a couple of days. So I don't know what he's going to do about that. I think, and here's what I found interesting you brought about the Europeans. If I learned anything, is how emasculated the European Union was. How desperate they need the United States here. I mean, they can talk all they want. They talk and talk and talk. They've given, by the way, billions of dollars to Ukraine. But here's a sad little secret. They've spent a lot more than that on Russian oil. And they still are. That hasn't stopped. So somebody please, as you say, make that make sense to me. Yeah. So Trump, I think, and I think this would be beautiful, if he can divert that dependency to the United States, then the United States becomes the supplier of oil to the European Union.
Wow. So
that they are no longer dependent on Russian oil. I mean, this isn't a genius move at this point. This should have been done, I think, a long time ago. I mean, why Biden didn't, well, I know why, because he was too busy destroying American energy policy. That's why.
Right.
But here we are, Nico. I do think economically, Russia can be devastated because
well, they were
Putin
feeling it. They were feeling it.
And their economy's not great as it is now.
And then secondary sanctions, anyone that does business with them can be pressed on also. So, I mean, you have these primary and then you have secondary. So you can put the pressure, and it needs to happen. But now you have Zelensky's changed his tune. You know, he's
wore a suit.
Well, whatever. Yeah, that was kind of. I couldn't even tell it was a suit at first. It was the black on black. I think it was a kind of a. Well, I'm not going to wear the suit you want me to wear, but I'll wear something.
So embarrassing.
Yeah, well, it is what it is. And did you notice his shoes? They were still those combat shoes. But all that to say,
I did.
Is I mean, he's changed his tune, and he needs to. Yeah. But there's unity. So if anything came out of that, and the only thing that came out of that to me was unity and the fact that Russia can't be trusted. Done. I mean, I got it. Yeah. But now what do you do? To George's point, this is a formidable foe. I mean, yeah, they're the second largest nuclear weapon, but until we get that Golden Dome, it makes you think you need that Golden Dome a lot sooner.
Yeah.
Keep negotiating.
Nico,
stretch it out.
Nico reminded me that he went back to Reagan, but I was thinking in the aftermath of Ukrainian independence, they signed, from Russia, they signed a 1994 Budapest Memorandum. And the language in that same memorandum in 1994 said that Russia was going to play a hand in ensuring Ukraine's political independence. How did that work out? 20 years later, they invade the Crimean Peninsula of Ukraine. So do I think the land swap is the answer? Boy, I'm telling you what, I used to think, 2 weeks ago, I thought, in fact, Nico and I were texting back and forth, and I thought, I don't see any way out of some sort of land swap. I think to some extent that's going to end up being a mistake, because the land that Putin wants, that is strategically located, so that if they have control of that, there's total access into the Ukrainian interior. So I honestly don't see it. So I apart from the economics and Trump coming out with a heavy hand, Nico, I don't know at this point that we have anything that was achieved. I take your point of the unity. I think that's useful. You can build on it. But in terms of milestones, I'm not sure that conservatives ought to be sort of, leaning over their skis.
These Russians. I mean, we've talked about Yuri Bezmenov in here before, and those 4 stages of ideological subversion. I mean, they play the long game. They do, like China does. This communists play the long game. They're not instant gratification. Demoralize. That's what they wanted first, to demoralize a country. It takes the time to do that, although it happens a lot quicker today. Destabilize, crisis, and normalize. And that is a process that if you look back and if you listen to the Yuri Bezmenov interview from the 80s, that's already happened.
That's incredible.
I mean, so there's a lot of fronts we're dealing with, and Russia is a formidable foe, and it doesn't seem like that we've made any headway this week.
Okay, we're going to take a break. Remember, I'm going to give you that phone number again and again and again, 210-560-0180. Please consider texting to contribute to Sidebar. Remember, also go to sidebartv.com and find your social media platform to join us at the after show. We'll be right back with more on Sidebar.
San Antonio's news, weather, traffic, plus breaking news 24/7. This is News Radio 1200 WOAI from the GiveMeTheVin.com Sell Us Your Cars studio.
Good morning. I'm Eric Lycum at News Radio 1200 WOAI. A guilty verdict in a San Antonio capital murder trial. Details coming up. First, traffic and weather together.
From the WOAI Traffic Center.
Loop 410 southbound, the on-ramp from Houston Street is closed for construction. Over on 35 northbound, the off-ramp to Evans Road is closed for construction. I'm Alexis, News Radio 1200 WOAI.
On our way to 89, we've got sunshine 79 now at the WOAI 24-hour weather center. Our top story. It took the jury about 4 hours to find R.C. Curtis guilty of capital murder of killing his wife's grandmother in 2021.
Being that count 1 is a guilty for capital murder, the court will sentence you to life in prison.
Curtis convicted of beating, strangling, and sexually assaulting Paula Boyd, a 75-year-old H-E-B worker who was found dead in her apartment. He then used her credit cards before selling them to 2 other men in exchange for drugs.
There being 18 ayes, 11 nays, House Bill 4 is finally passed.
Texas Republican state senators work until early this morning to pass the state's redrawn congressional map that gives the GOP 5 more seats in the House for the 2026 midterm. Bill now heads to Governor Abbott's desk. News on demand at WOAI.com. Our next update, top of the hour, breaking information as it happens. I'm Eric Lycum on San Antonio's news, weather, and traffic station, News Radio 1200 WOAI.
This report is sponsored by Lowe's. Labor Day at Lowe's means buy one, get one free select interior paint via Visa gift card rebate. Plus, shop 2 for $8 select 2.5 or 3-quart mums. Valid through 9/3 mums offer in-store only. Selection varies by location. Terms and restrictions apply. See Lowe's.com/rebates for details.
1200 WOAI. This is Sidebar. 210-560-0180. Please consider becoming a contributor to the show. 210-560-0180. You know, I kind of thought this week there was only one person in the news more than Jasmine Crockett has been in the news lately, and that is Gavin. I always have to wonder, am I saying it right? Is it Newsom or Newsom? But the whole gerrymandering thing has gotten him totally fired up. What's going on with that?
I mean, look, from what I've looked into it, and we talked about it a couple weeks ago, I just think it's a significant bug in our American system. I mean, when you think about state parties can draw their own lines for federal system, and I'm not saying I have the answer. It's not an easy answer. You have California that has a commission set up, and that's what Gavin's been out there, and he's trying to use this to get attention and help fundraise and to put him in the front lines for the Democrat Party, pushing back on Trump. I mean, look, we're here because Democrats have been very creative and good at using gerrymandering. I mean, California itself,
they're
they have
experts.
52 reps, and there's only 12 reps that are Republican.
No
That's 23%.
If there was a graduate textbook on gerrymandering, it would be written by a Democrat.
Well, look, there's 41% that voted for Trump in California, but they have 23% representation. And then get to Illinois, it's 17% representation. They're over 40%. And then you get to Massachusetts and all these other places that don't have any Republicans. I mean, look, Democrats have used gerrymandering legally. I'm not saying they've done anything illegally.
Wow,
that's why I call it a bug.
That's better than I thought. I thought California, maybe I need to refine my numbers. I thought California had an 83% to 17% split. They have 52 seats, and I thought it was 43 to 9. But no, please, I need to look at that because that's a little bit better than what I thought. It's really dismal. So when he said he was going to get another 4 or 5 seats, I'm like, you're going to squeeze blood out of a turnip, brother? There's not a whole lot left.
I mean, they have a little bit more work that they can pull out of there, more than Illinois. Whatever the numbers are, someone can fact check on that stuff. All I'm saying is there's not adequate representation of Republican voters.
They're lopsided.
Yes, of course.
Lopsided.
So how did you get there? They used gerrymandering.
Sure.
And they used it legally. Okay, great. And that's why I call it a bug in our system. But then now that the Republicans are using it, now everybody's got, their chonas in a wad. And okay, well, they're calling it a threat to democracy. Well, it wasn't a threat to democracy when you used it. This is the hypocrisy that drives me insane. I mean, again, be careful of the world you help create, because someday you may have to live in it. This is my point. I've been saying this over and over again for years. That's why I'm an advocate of setting up a system that our founding fathers wanted. Hear from the people. I know this is the way to try to do that, and this is not easy. And it's above I don't want King of the Mountain system. I don't want, and we'll talk about maybe John Bolton. I don't want King of the Mountain that, okay, now when they're in charge, now we're screwed. And when we're back in charge, I don't want a system with, depending on who's in charge, you're screwed. I want a system that says that all of us are blessed overall because our voices were heard, and there's a system that we can rely on and that everybody can trust, and then let the chips fall where they may.
Well, let's dissect that a little bit because, I'm all for competition, and our political system, thrives on that competition. So you have a party that wins, let's say, overwhelmingly, or even wins handily, and going back to Obama's adage, elections have consequences. This kind of gets back to the president getting to decide what his agenda is, and because he won the election, and the GOP, they won the election in terms of the numbers of seats, so they get to define the agenda. So this gerrymandering, basically that ideology or that philosophy trickles down to grassroots. And basically what they're saying is, and by the way, since you're the only lawyer in this room, it might be interesting to you. The United States Supreme Court in 2019, I think it was it Russo versus Common Cause, they dissected this issue, and the conclusion was, really, they looked at gerrymandering, believe it or not. It's a fascinating read. And they concluded that gerrymandering is entirely in the purview of the political realm.
That's right.
And that it is not for federal courts to preside. Now, state courts can, but not federal courts, and they should stay out of it because it is entirely a political exercise. So you have an election that's won, you have people who won and people who lost, and the people who won now get to define their districts in the state. It's not that the people who lost don't have representation, it's that they don't have majority representation, and I think most people, I hope you would agree, maybe not, would say, well, that seems right because they lost.
So how do we fix it in Massachusetts, Illinois, and California?
Well,
those Republicans are screwed, so they either have to take it like a good boy and girl, or move to a state where the gerrymandering is being used in their benefit. All I'm saying is
I'm going to go back to the hood politics of persuasion, because that's what's happening in California. It's slow going. But they've been adding seats because the policies of California are a disaster, and the policies of the GOP are a way out of that disaster. And so the campaigning, the messaging, it's all the stuff you've talked about. Make your freaking case, for goodness sakes. Sure. Make your case. Ultimately, it comes down to that. Look, that's what Trump has done. He's made his case. Now you can argue.
So you're a supporter of gerrymandering. You're good with it.
I actually take the position that there should be more of it.
Oh, okay. Interesting.
There should be more of it. Now, let's look at it. I'm trying to be fair. I'm not saying the Democrats shouldn't do it. Remember, our issue is don't be a hypocrite.
Yeah.
They did it.
Yep.
California, you brought up Illinois. Look at New York. Kathy Hochul up there.
Terrible.
I think what's funny about Kathy Hochul is that she says, yeah, we're going to do the same thing. Hey, Kathy, there's actually nowhere else. You've gerrymandered so much, you literally have nothing left. So she's out there bloviating. Gavin Newsom is out there. It's going to cost $200 million in California.
Well, they have to vote on it.
They have a state deficit.
They have to change their constitution.
They do.
Yeah.
But it's going to cost $200 million just to have the election.
That they don't have.
Right. So to squeeze what, Nico? To squeeze maybe 4 seats because they don't have anywhere to go, as you just said. So the hypocrisy has a stench to it. And so all Republicans are saying is, to the extent that they're now gerrymandering in Texas, they're going to be nowhere near where California, even with this gerrymandering, they're going to be nowhere near the lopsided effect that you see in Illinois and California and New York. So make your case to the people, win elections, and then you get to engage in the strictly political exercise of defining your districts. Hey, there's a silver lining here. Jasmine Crockett is going to be out of a job. Yes, I know. Let that sink in. And that can't come. That can't come anytime too soon. So that's a consequence of the election.
So will some Republicans in California. That's all I'm saying. I mean, so look, Jasmine Crockett, I actually like that she's out there talking because she goes, if that's what Democrats are, then keep on.
Thank you.
Come on, just come on, let's talk to us. I mean, you know, you don't, you know what I'm saying?
Please keep talking.
Yeah, keep talking. I mean, you know,
So embarrassing.
It's like Kamala Harris talking. Keep talking. That's the best advertisement for Trump. I mean, so, but I want to say, I truly, you know me, I just believe in a system of the people, by the people, for the people. And I'm not saying I have the answer, and I'm still investigating. I'm muddling through all this. I know that gerrymandering goes back to the early 1800s, before political parties, before the Democrat Party, before the Republican Party, 1812. Yeah, we talked about that a few weeks ago. So I mean, it's in our system, and that's why the Supreme Court said, well, it's illegal. I'm just saying it's a bug, it's a glitch, in my opinion, because look at where we're going here. And you have to be okay with it if sometime, at some point, Texas changes.
It's an excellent point. You got to be okay with it. Play it out, as you often say.
Yes, that's all.
So what we have is gerrymandering wars. California's jumped in, and guess who came right after California? Well, Missouri's going to do it now. Except Missouri actually has seats. So I think what we're going to see, which I find hilarious. I mean, be careful the world you have create. Speaking to the Democrats, fine. You gerrymandered, knock yourself out. The United States Supreme Court 6 years ago said, it's good. Double thumbs up, keep it up. But now you're at a point where the Republicans are going to get to do the same thing, and you're going to lose because you don't have enough seats, and they have a lot more seats. So for the 4 seats that Newsom might get, Missouri's got 7, and they don't have to go through the hurdles. And that's the other issue. So abusive, I think. They overplayed their hand, Nico, that these independent commissions, and you were going to say something about California, these independent voter commissions stepped in and said, we want to have a voice at the table here. We want to be sort of the final check.
Well, but they're appointed commissions. I mean, so they're politicized also. It's just the appearance of no improprieties, but it's really just an appointed position. So who's going to appoint you? The person that wants.
The only reason I brought that up in California is because it seems to be even split. There's some number of Democrats, there's an equal number of Republicans, and then there's some independents. And that hurdle has to be crossed before the November 4th. And I think that's a consequence of Democrats doing it so much that even people in their own state said, can we please get this out of the partisan legislatures, and can we actually have these voting commissions? And will that work? I don't know. But in terms of numbers, the Republicans have a lot more to squeeze, and this isn't going to stop. It's going to go to Ohio. It's going to be in Missouri. And it'll be fun to watch.
Yeah, but so just so you'll know, Karen, so California has to have a majority vote. And so
thank you for reading my mind. I needed this. I need the explanation.
So New York is going to go to a vote, and it has to be a majority vote. And so Newsom's going to be out there campaigning. So there's going to be a campaign to influence. There'll be an election. They'll vote for it, and then they'll have to vote to amend their constitution because they're not supposed to gerrymander in an off-cycle census. So that's what's going to happen legally.
That's right.
And then I think it's going to be an exercise that will be successful for them. It appears to be. And then they'll be able to do this, and then they'll gerrymander the way they
I apologize for my ignorance with this statement I'm about to make. When you say they vote, you're talking about the representatives, but
no, the citizens vote.
Well, that's what I was hoping you were going to say.
It's already through the legislature.
That's what I was hoping you were going to say.
They have to amend their constitution.
Thank you. That's what I needed the explanation, because if you're a Republican and you're in this Democrat state, obviously like California, if you don't vote, it's again the constituents'
fault.
fault.
Now, to George's point, now think about this. If California truly is a 41% Republican, or some people say 44, it's not what you think it is based off the representation. That's the point. And then most of the
Madison Square
conservatives are
Garden,
left.
yeah.
So then they're really screwed.
Yeah.
I mean, so
Yeah.
you just have to get to the people on this vote. And here's the deal, because we'll talk about registration and Democrats' registration. Only 30 states do political registrations. We're not one of them. I mean, so when you think about registering someone to vote and then getting them out to vote is a whole different
Yes.
animal. I mean, so that's a whole different exercise.
Antonio,
And
hello.
Yes, get him out to vote. Look at that.
Yeah.
I mean, 9%. What was it? I don't even know what was it for Mayor
yeah.
Jones. I mean, it was what? 9%, 10%. It's never more than 12 that votes for our mayor and our city council.
It's really anemic.
That's terrible.
Yeah.
And now don't get too excited. I mean, it's only 33 to 35% on gubernatorial and presidential elect, and then we bitch about it. I mean, so you're voting for your district attorney, you're voting for your sheriff, you're voting for your commissioners, you're voting for. I mean, that's during the gubernatorial cycle, the November elections, and then the off cycle, which is in May or whatever it is, which is weird. But that's only 9 to 12%, and then we bitch about it. I mean, don't bitch if you don't vote. I mean, and then if you're voting, try to persuade someone else to vote. That's why conversations are needed. That's why we need to educate yourself and then share that education with the facts and evidence, and then see whose ideas are better.
Maybe it's because all the rest are illegals like Salo, and they just don't want to come out. Maybe they just don't want to come out and vote. They're like, today's not my day. I'm not going to go out and vote.
Well,
Salo votes.
maybe in the next segment we can talk about that, the voter registration. Is it a crisis, do you think, that the Democrats are facing? Well, that's what we're going to talk about next. But in the meantime, I'm going to give you that phone number once again. It's 210-560-0180. People hate when I say oh, so I will say 210-560-0180. Please consider contributing to the show, and that's the number to text. Meantime, we'll be right back with more on Sidebar.
With reputations as respected high-level prosecutors in Bexar County, the attorneys of LaHood Norton Law Group bring invaluable practical knowledge from the other side of the aisle, using over 70 years of combined experience to strategically advocate clients' rights and pursue the best possible outcome.
I'm Nico LaHood with LaHood Norton Law Group. Have you been arrested or accused of a crime? The LaHood Norton Law Group has the knowledge to defend you regardless of how small or large your case. In Bexar County, anywhere in the state, or even nationwide, we have the knowledge to defend you in federal or state court, no matter how small or large your case. We are trial lawyers with proven success.
Using their 70 years of combined experience to strategically advocate for their clients' rights and pursue the best possible outcome. The LaHood Norton Law Group. For a free consultation, call today, 210-797-7700. 210-797-7700. LaHoodNorton.com.
This is Nico LaHood. If you or a loved one has been arrested or accused of a crime, we can help.
LaHoodNorton.com.
Okay, this is the last segment on WOAI. So that means right now would be a good time to find a social media platform to get on, because we continue the show at 10 o'clock. And you can just find it at sidebartv.com. Very easy. You can also text 210-560-0180 to contribute to the show. So I was reading that apparently from 2020 to 2024, Democrats lost over 2 million registered voters. Republicans gained 2.4 million in the 30 states that track party affiliation. That results in a net swing of like 4.5 million voters. And I keep on trying to figure out, new voter registration is obviously the way to go when it comes to the Democrats who lost the most. But there seems to be a shift in affiliation. Instead of people registering for Democrats and them gaining, it's just the opposite. So what are the Democrats going to do in order to make up for all those millions?
Well, I mean, first of all,
why is that?
How did they get that data? Where did they get that from? Because you don't register to be a Democrat in certain states. I mean, 30 states have registration, 20 of them don't.
That's what they're saying.
Yeah.
It's strictly for those 30 states.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well,
and they call that out.
Could it be better or worse?
Yeah.
Who knows? So it's.
And I'll tell you what drove the analysis, but go ahead and finish your thought.
I didn't read the article you're talking about. I just don't think it's not cool to be a Democrat anymore. And this is the first time in my lifetime. I mean, because think about what Democrats, you think of a Democrat, you think of an anti-flag, anti-faith, anti-traditional family person that's for open borders, that's not funny anymore because you can't joke about anything because everything offends everybody, and microaggressions. You think of purple hair.
The grammar is terrible,
you
too.
Think of purple hair and,
They're not funny anymore.
And big glasses. I mean, they've destroyed comedy. There's no free speech. There's cancel culture. I mean, think open borders. I mean, think about this, and no fun. I mean, Republicans are looked at having more fun and being rogue. Trump came out as a rogue candidate, and he went on. I mean,
Trump.
Think about it. Like,
that's funny.
Democrats are a bunch of sourpusses. I mean, nothing's funny anymore. You can't say anything. Everything's politically correct. I mean, no, people want structure, so religion's no good. I mean, and that wasn't my day. In my day, you could still be a Democrat and have a strong religious affiliation in Christian faith. And traditional families. I mean, I said this before in another podcast. Karen, answer this question. What comes to your mind? Democrat, Republican, okay? Traditional family.
Republican.
American flag.
Republican.
Law enforcement.
Republican.
Free speech.
Republican.
That's one's a big one, right?
Yeah.
Free thought.
Republican.
Working families.
Republican.
I mean, think about this.
This is an easy test.
A closed border.
Republican.
Okay. I mean, so we can go on and on and on about this. I mean, comedy. Republican, because you can be. I mean, look who they brought to.
And what's glaring about your list, and you called it out, is that there are categories on there that used to be distinctly Democratic.
100%.
You already took my thunder.
100%. Yes.
Remember, thank you, George. You're right. So many of those categories were Democrat strongholds and what they championed, and it's not that way anymore. And so you've seen this shift. I mean, and I'm not being mean to my Democrat friends. I love them, and not all of them are like that. And there's some that are. I mean, they're friends with me, so they've got to be a little jacked up. But I mean, all I'm saying is it's when you think about the national platform and what Democrats stand for versus Republicans, I think for the first time I've seen in my lifetime that it's not embarrassing to be a Republican. Just in the Biden-Trump #1, Trump 1.0, you didn't even want to mention the word conservative. You didn't want to mention the word Republican, and now it's changed.
It's so funny because Matt online just said, as a conservative, I'm not really a fan of either party at this point. However, I don't.
You didn't even want to mention the word conservative. You didn't want to mention the word Republican, and now it's changed.
It's so funny because Matt online just said, as a conservative, I'm not really a fan of either party at this point. However, I don't understand how anyone can still vote for liberal policies locally that directly lead to high crime in our cities.
Yeah, I still refuse to give that term over. It's progressive policies. I mean, because the classical liberal, I understand what they say, and people say all the words against liberals, but I still believe that the Republican Party is liberal with your thoughts. They're liberal with your speech. I mean, and I hope you really believe that. I mean, I am a passionate to be free speech. Saying negative things about children on the spectrum of autism, fun of special needs, even though I think it's Jesus, or you want to talk about whatever, you free speech absolutist, almost. But I mean, I believe that. Now, that used to be the champion cry of the Democrats.
Yeah.
George, you remember that? I mean, you're not that old.
Thank you.
You're old. You're not that old.
Not old.
Come on. I said you're not that old.
Don't even look over here, or else you're going to be in trouble.
It's just really good to have friends. You know, I read the New York Times article, so you don't have to. But it's a well-written article, and I think they have the problem diagnosed really well. They did a terrible job at diagnosing the solution. The solution, as the New York Times sees it, it's basically an accounting problem. You need to register more people. What's wrong with you?
Yeah.
And then I heard the analogy. that that kind of solution, it's kind of like having a bunch of commercial shelves full in a warehouse, and the product's not moving, so you blame the warehouse. We need more shelves, for goodness sakes. And the reality is, and the article pointed out, that it costs a ton of money to register the average, what they call the minority voter. The problem is, if you liken it to a Starbucks, you know, they come in, they get their latte, but they're spitting it on the way out because they hate the product. And,
right.
And so the New York Times danced around that issue. But they quoted individuals who don't dance around that issue. They talked about DecisionDeskHQ.com. Go to that organization because they do a really great job on election data science. And they said this truly is a problem. They've been analyzing why Trump won the popular vote, because there really wasn't an explanation for that. And so they've been able to break down the shift by age, and they found that there's a hard right shift on college campuses, and that in their view, the Gen Z is on track to be the most pro-GOP generation since the Great Depression.
Wow.
That's the conclusion. They're saying there's no silver lining, there's no cavalry coming for the Democrats.
What did they say where that came from? Is that from all the COVID lockdowns and the shutdowns?
Exactly right. So because of the bracketed data, the shift really started in the aftermath of 2018, and it materialized between 2020 and 2024. And again, it's it's really an abandonment of what you said, of what used to be dear to the Democrat Party, really, truly free speech and autonomy. And then you had the Democrats really be these sort of modern American communists, and they turned into statists and authoritarians. And they sort of, the party really turned inward. And it's it's just run by a bunch of radical left-wing ideologues at this point. And so I think Matt's point, the commenter, is very valid. How can you rationally? People are looking at policy and saying, why would I vote for a party that's ultimately wholly interested in minimizing me? You know, what I think, what I'm motivated by as a voter is irrelevant. And so it comes back again to power versus policy.
Yeah.
They're pursuing power. We're trying to pursue policies that benefit the average American. And so it really is a significant shift. So whereas they had an 11% voter advantage in 2020, in 2024, it was cut by more than half, Nico. That's a lot of people. And they're looking at it and they're saying, hey, it's not just Gen Z. It's particularly young white men, but it's young men of every demographic, but particularly young white men. But they're also seeing it in terms of partisanship. It's a lot of Democrats. A lot of Democrats have shifted over.
To Republican?
Yes.
I'm curious to see what the Valley does this midterm. I mean, do they forget?
Because we've seen those shifts there.
Well, do you see? Do you get amnesia? Do you like, okay, we couldn't take it. That was our voting issue, regardless of anything else. And now that you get comfortable, what does it say? Strong leaders, strong men create good times create weak leaders create hard times create strong men. You know, that cycle. Are we in that cycle already to where they got so comfortable because the border is done? It's shut down.
Yes.
Unbelievable what they did. And that they need to keep talking about that, because the Democrats said we need to change the law, and it wasn't. You just needed to change your ideas. And so do they go back to the old way and vote in Democrats again, because now that problem is gone and they don't give credit to the Republicans, the ones who did it, or Trump actually? So I'm just curious. That's going to be kind of a local indicator for me, but we don't have the time. We can't risk losing the midterms. I think Republicans can't in general.
Yeah, that's exactly right. I love seeing the connection that people are making between the policies, or forget the personality for a moment, the policies that somebody's espousing and their commitment to implementing them and outcomes. I mean, just this past week, I don't know if you guys caught that, we've talked a lot about Zohran Mamdani in New York and how the guy was literally chased out of his own rally this week.
I didn't see that.
Yeah, by the voters, angry voters. Because,
really?
Right, and you should see the stuff they were shouting.
Over
and
what?
Well, I mean, it's not just the global intifada stuff. Like, that's a good idea. Bring that to the United States. But also because of things like we've talked about here, the idea of rent control and price capping on rents. And I think what this started is that there's a rent-controlled price in an apartment that he lives in. And so Cuomo started this.
Good for Cuomo.
Weeks ago. And so
no one's even talking about Eric Adams. Has that guy conceded already?
I think Eric Adams is on his way out.
Well, obviously, he's just
he's been rather somewhat silent. And so voters went after him. They were angry at him. And then things like the government-run grocery stores. And I wondered how much of a thing that actually was. And it actually is a thing. It's been tried in the United States. The Manhattan Institute has written on this, by the way. And their analysis is that about 78% of all of them that have tried have led municipalities into bankruptcy. Now, it just shouldn't be a shocker. I mean, they're using tax dollars to prop up something that the market didn't create. I love how these individuals, these politicians, drive policies forward to implementation that have literally been tried dozens and dozens of times for just as many years and failed. But this time, maybe this time, Karen, maybe this is the one time that. And so that I thought that was interesting. And by the way, Omar Fateh in Missouri is also in trouble.
Is that the skinny dude?
Man, is he skinny? He's real skinny.
I don't mind being skinny. He just looks jacked. I don't know.
Yeah, he does look jacked up.
People's ideas are just, I mean, people need to wake up. I mean, there needs to be a discussion about Islam. There needs to be a discussion about the justice system. I mean, you know, you mentioned John Bolton earlier. You mentioned, we didn't even talk about D.C. crime and how that's changed already. People are actually going to the dinners. I mean, I can't understand.
What crime? There's no crime in D.C.
But see, this is back to where the Democrats are having problems. I mean, they're saying, there's Democrats that are not happy about what Trump's doing in D.C. I mean, Joe Scarborough, everyone agrees that D.C. has been a problem. Everyone knows somebody who's been carjacked, assaulted, something, robbed, or something. I mean, and now people are going out after dark. No one's turned into a gremlin. You're not worried about vampires. I mean, we should want that for our nation's capital. But the John Bolton thing, I know we only have 3 minutes. We're going to talk about this more. That's a big deal too. I mean, because there needs to be an analysis on this about the ideas, because you're seeing the Democrats go into this, autoimmune response.
Yeah, it's
about,
not
I
about.
can't believe it. You're weaponizing.
It's not about the law. It's about retaliation.
Well, you've seen this shift. You have Cash Patel saying no one's above the law. Where'd you get that from, Cash? You got that from Democrats. No one's above the law. Adam Schiff and all these other fools were saying that no one's above the law. Okay.
Well, they actually got that from Bolton. Bolton actually
did he really?
Oh, my.
Poor bastard.
That's what Bolton said about Trump.
Well, this is my point.
Can't make this stuff up, man.
Do you really believe this stuff? This is my question. Okay, Democrats, Bolton, whoever it is. Do you believe no one's above the law? What does that mean to you? We're going to analyze this on the after show. And then how does that play out? And so I have a lot to say. I know we only have a minute, and Karen's going to flip me off in a second.
I already did.
So what we'll do on the after show, Karen, I think we need to talk about John Bolton raid. I think we need to talk about D.C. crime. I think this is all going to couple back into why Democrats are having problems. But will it materialize in the midterms? Because that's the bottom line. This is all for nothing if the Republicans don't keep control to continue with Trump's agenda, because it'll come to a screeching halt. And so I think we should analyze what these ideas that the Democrats are saying, maybe take some questions, comments. I really want to hear from Alamo Talk and Mark Antoine and some of our friends that disagree with us, but I want to hear those ideas, because we need to spar with these ideas to see what's best for all Americans. Guys, thanks for joining us. As always, we ask you to share these conversations with people that we enjoy them, and please join us on the after show. We're going to be on for another 30 minutes or so, but regardless, have a blessed weekend. Bye-bye.
Okay, we're on. You know what?
Whose
I
question?
don't.
May
we
Ann
always-
Ross Garcia question. My mom said to check her question.
Who?
My mom.
But what's the
May
person's?
Ann Ross Garcia.
Okay, I have to look through everything.
Come on, stick with it. Salo, what are you doing over there? Sleeping?
One thing that I have to say is y'all always talk about Alamo Talk. Have you ever gone to lunch like you
I'm
said?
still waiting to go to lunch. We talk very friendly, and he's
He's gotten,
you know.
he's gotten more mild in his comments, and I know he's like.
Well, here's what I tell people. I mean, I know some people that maybe agree with our ideology. I know it can get so offensive, and I'm just not into the name calling. I mean, look, I've called people names. Don't get me wrong, but it's usually led up to that, and we get all fired up. And I don't lead with someone calling them a name. That doesn't get anywhere. I'm going to talk about ideas. I'm going to talk about the situation, and then if it gets to you're classifying someone in a name, they're acting like an asshole, and you call them an asshole. Okay, great, that's fine, but you don't start with it, and say.
The funny thing is,
I don't lead with you're an asshole. You're acting terrible. Okay, you're an asshole.
Well, and I don't mean to be rude, but I'm just stating that one of the last comments that he made on today's Facebook page, it almost made me laugh because he brought up the Epstein files again, and I keep on thinking.
But why debate him on it? He's right. I don't know what he said. I think there's a lot of conservatives that want answers on the Epstein file. But is it going to stop the train? Well, yes.
They even got Ghislaine Maxwell to say Trump had nothing to do with anything.
Look,
believe me, if she was saying that to get out,
do I think Trump is on there in the way that they want to use it? No.
No.
But do you think she'll say whatever the hell she wants to say to get out? Please.
Okay.
Let's just use some common sense.
We already know from the initial trials that Trump's name shows up on the flight logs.
I know, but you know what I mean. I mean,
on the list that she said doesn't exist.
Yeah. Well, no one ever argued there was a list. I mean, I don't think it's not like a black book. Like when you run in numbers, you keep your black book. So when somebody gets pinched, all you get their list of their paperwork of all that.
It's a metaphorical list.
Yes.
And now Carlos is mad at me because he goes, "The troll has been nicer?" Question mark. He just called Republicans pedophile protectors.
And who's that?
This is Carlos Austin Danger that
said.
Right.
Is that his name?
Right.
Danger?
Pedophile protectors. Right.
Danger.
I don't know. I just think
I'm not sure what we make of all the Democrats on there, but
I just keep on thinking there are so many things that are happening positively, and it hasn't even been a year yet. That it's the arguments against Trump seem to be getting weaker and weaker and weaker.
They just are getting weaker. I just don't know how you. I mean, yes, if you have an ideological difference on certain things, but how do you argue the border? How do you argue crime? That's not even an 80-20 issue. It's higher than that. Why do you want crime to prevail? Why do you want illegals not to be held accountable? Why do you want an open border? I get the sentimental side of it. We talked about this a few weeks ago about going into a manufacturer place and these are not hardened criminals. I got all that, and that's kind of a subsect. But overall, the idea Trump's doing everything he said he was going to do when he campaigned. Now, you might not have played it out, and you might have been, I got it, or maybe it's like, an application, it's uncomfortable. Doing hard things are always uncomfortable. They always are uncomfortable. And I've even talked to people close to me in my family. What do you think about this? And it hurts my heart. It hurts mine too. But what's the answer then? Then you give me the solution. The problem is, here's my analogy. When the boat is just taking in water, and there's a bunch of water, and you got to get the water out, you might scoop out someone's bracelet. You might scoop out someone's this. Because you're trying to get all that water out. Yeah. I want it done properly. George and I got into our disagreement, and others disagreed with me because I am a due process hawk. And it's because of that. And we can talk about John Bolton here in a little while.
I do want to talk about that, yeah.
It has to be that way. But what is the answer? We've got to get illegals out here. I want people to come here illegally. I think there has to be some answer. And George and I talked about this. The kids that are born here, obviously, those should be it's not their fault. So I think if you were born here and your parents brought you illegally and maybe you're here illegal, but you were born here, there's got to be an answer for that. And we've all agreed. I think most Republicans and most conservatives agree that that's not what we're talking about. So we have to understand the argument. We have to identify what it is and frame it properly and make sure we don't overgeneralize. That's what's happening here. People we need immigration reform. What the hell does that mean to you? We need justice system reform. What do you even know what that means? So we need to understand what we're discussing, because if we don't be pinpoint accurate about what we're discussing, you overgeneralize and you either do nothing or you harm somebody in that process. And so I'm not.
That's the problem. It's not a thoughtful discussion. You don't like the stuff you were just talking about. I'd be surprised if you were in a discussion with Democrats sitting avid pro illegal immigration. You wouldn't be able to get you wouldn't be able to get that sentence out, because you can't even get to the point. Okay, let's talk about what's the differentiating line between the DACA or between I don't even struggle with that one. I think that one's easy. You know, you're right. It wasn't their fault. They should, you know, let them stay. I don't have even
They're
an issue with
Americans
that.
for all practical purposes.
I'm less hawkish. I'm less clear. I'm open to it, but I'm less clear on the notion that you came as an adult, you broke the law. Let's say you've been here 10 or 15 years. You're a contributing member in some way. Yes, you're illegal. I'm less committed to you staying de facto.
But you're open to some solution.
But I'm open to exploring it.
Yeah.
If you can show that you've been a contributing member and so forth.
No felonies.
Indeed.
Yeah,
So I'm open to that. But the point is, back to the emotional side of the argument, the reality is that we know why Democrats were doing what they're doing, because otherwise there's no explanation other than trying to shore up an electoral base.
Yeah.
That's what they're trying to do. We know that. Pew Research Center just reported that during the Biden administration, there were over 1 million illegal aliens that were strategically because they didn't miraculously end up there in swing states. And yeah, you've got 700,000 in Texas. You got 450,000 in Florida. You've got New Jersey as well. But throughout the Northeast, Missouri, for goodness sakes, right? North Carolina, a bunch of them in North Carolina, strategically placed to shore up votes. We know that this was a voting gimmick, and the idea that they're talking about, as you say, talking about the children and talking about those poor illegal aliens.
They don't care about that.
You know, people are fed up with that. So getting back to your original question, I think people are up to here with that. And
I hope so.
You brought up the polling seems to, because what caused me to think about that, Nico, is you said, yeah, I get it, because they're going into places of work and it's a shock to the system. And I think originally there was a polling dip for Trump because people were like, holy crap, I didn't realize it was this serious.
Yeah.
And then people step back and realize after the report about, oh, yeah, Americans are never going to do those jobs. In reality, there's lines of Americans waiting to do those jobs and actually are doing those jobs. And I think Americans are like, okay, I get the outcome. It's not illegal. Yeah, I mean, there's a hard element to it, but the reality is that ultimately the nation fares better because we are holding up the integrity of our laws, and national sovereignty actually matters. Americans are, I think, working through those things. Yeah. And look, it took a bull in a china closet to do it. I mean, that's how withdrawal works sometimes. I mean, I don't know what else to say, but...
Did you see Trump's hat this week?
What did it say?
Yes.
No,
Trump was right about everything.
I mean, I was like, can he fit any more words on there?
I don't know, man.
Well, didn't Elon Musk had that while he was criticizing him?
Yeah, but now he was reading it himself. It was so
Trump,
funny.
I just think it's funny when he talks about himself in the third person. It's funny.
That is so weird.
Yeah, you always say something bad about Trump. Say about me. Why don't you say me?
We usually leave it to you to transition.
Well, I think we should talk about Bolton, because some are calling it retaliation, and it has nothing to do with the law. But I guess my question is, what papers or what are they looking for? What classified records could they be looking for?
Well, I mean, so this is old. This is back from 2020. There was an investigation during Trump 1. On Bolton when he left, and he was pissed off, and he wrote his book, and he had his memoirs and his tell-all story, and he's out telling everybody. But then there was stuff in his book that seemed to be classified. And then a judge said, yeah, you can do this, you can't do that. And then, of course, during Biden, the investigation was dropped.
Free for all.
So is this a continuation of that investigation? You know, Bolton's been doing the circuit. I mean, he was just on the show like last week or something like that. And so they say they're looking for classified. For the system's sake, I'm not that dude. I saw one commentator, I'm so happy that, and people, that's what you get. I'm not that guy. Proverbs 24:17 is clear to me, and I've had to work this out in politics when people that have lied about me and have been after me have fallen or exposed. It's hard not to gloat in the flesh, but in Proverbs 24:17 it says, "Do not gloat when your enemy falls. Do not let your heart rejoice, or the Lord will see and disapprove and turn his wrath away from them." I mean, so we got to keep our heart pure. I mean, I'm always rejoicing when truth prevails, and either, you know, truth prevails, whether it's to defend somebody or to clarify something. We want truth to prevail in jury verdicts when someone's acquitted or something like that. And politically, I want the light to expose people. Light is truth in biblical understanding. And so, but to gloat, I'm not happy that John Bolton got raided. I'm not happy. That's not a joke, because that can happen. And now they're saying it's being weaponized. I don't know whether it is or isn't. I trust this administration's ideology over the last one, but I don't trust the apparatus still. Yeah. Right? And so I just gotta wait and see. I'm not gonna make a judgment. They apparently went to a judge. They got probable cause, which is a low standard. I mean, it's a very low standard when you look at that, exactly the definition of it, and then the application of that definition. Probable cause is a legal standard. It's required to get either a search warrant or to arrest somebody is when you have enough evidence of a crime that could lead someone to believe that crime actually existed. Is it substantial evidence? Is it reasonable? Will the reasonable person believe that there's reliable information that a crime committed? Okay, great. That's your standard. And a judge said, yep, check. The judge is not cross-examining. There's not due process in that part, meaning there's cross-examination, there's witnesses. It's an affidavit. The four corners of the document is submitted to the judge. He looks at it, and he says, okay, would a reasonable person believe that a crime has been committed, and is there reliable information in here? Yep, check. What that means to the judge, that's up to him or her. Check, sign, go. That's all it was. Now, there's going to be a return. There's going to be, they call it an inventory of what they picked up. There's going to be parameters in the four corners of that document. Here's what you're looking for, and here's where you can search. That's what was the criticism of looking through Melania Trump's drawers.
Nobody was looking through John Bolton's wife's underwear drawer. Let me just
put
that.
Maybe she likes lingerie. I don't know. But all I'm saying is that was the argument. And so it's like the bird in the matchbox. Okay, if you're looking for a bird, you don't look in a matchbox. You look where a bird can fit. And so that should give you the parameters of what they find. And we'll see. Look, you're not going to hear things for a while, and it doesn't mean he's going to get charged. They're just looking for something. It'll be presented to a grand jury, and then. But
you've parked largely on the what. That there's probable cause, and they've defined that sufficiently for a judge, and the judge said go on that basis. But that still doesn't address the how, and that's where the raid comes in. Yeah. And you're saying you're not. I think I would have to agree with that because what is there an imminent danger? I mean, what is it that you save a raid for? I mean, like when you pull the trigger on a raid. Is there imminent danger? Is somebody's life in danger? Is that individual?
They're calling it a raid. It's not a raid.
Well,
it's a search.
But I mean, was there an alternative? Maybe just simply arrest the man.
No.
So what made this serious, according to them, is that in the book he says not only that he made it sound like he was concealing national security information, but it was a particular type of national security information, national defense related information. And Jonathan Turley, because what caught my eye is he typically doesn't have headlines like this on his articles, but he says John Bolton could face years in prison. I usually see that from the national media, but not from Turley. And then what he explained is that upped the ante, that typically concealing national security information hovers somewhere around 5 to 10 years. But because this is of a national defense nature, and because Bolton was surprisingly particular in the claims that he made, that those two together substantiated, the raid. Now, I realize it's particularly, as he said, interesting to Trump supporters because in the aftermath of Trump's raid, Bolton was out there, doing the same thing. He was out there saying, oh, no one's above the law. He was basically celebrating the issue. And so Trump supporters, I think, at some level find it very satisfying that the same thing has come back on John Bolton. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
The law. And so it's not like, it's not a general, I'm groveling over my enemy's demise. It's that this particular individual is out there publicly groveling over Trump.
Yeah.
And we know, and we have reason to believe that a bunch of shortcuts were practiced to get to Trump. And Bolton's out there saying no one's above the law. And so now the same thing has visited him, perhaps with better evidence, if you will, given the fact that he was the one out there saying that he had this information.
Be careful the world you help create. Because someday you may have to live in it.
I get it.
I'm going to over and over again.
Yeah, I get it.
And that's why I don't want to hear the Democrats bitching about this. Mm-hmm. Now, because the standard that I want to set is even higher than my feelings or anybody else's feelings or agendas. Mm-hmm. So I want to make sure that the system is shored up. But don't bitch about a system that you started. Now, and if it's retaliatory, I don't support it. If it's supported by objective evidence that's going to lead to something, and even if it doesn't lead to a crime, to a charge, an allegation, a formal allegation, if we call it color of law, if you were acting under color of law, that it's colorable act, meaning that you weren't just going off out of your ass. Yeah. There was legitimate concern that you did have probable cause. Maybe you don't believe you have enough to prove beyond a reasonable doubt. You make that assessment, and so you don't present to a grand jury. That's a different deal. But if it's just to embarrass or whatever, I don't support that. Because it'll never be over. Because then we set up a system. I said it during the radio portion of King of the Mountain, where now and someone's already saying that. Someone sent me. I don't know who said it. Well, I can't wait for us to be in office again. We're gonna get all you motherfuckers. He said it like that. Like, well, we need
to talk about it. Where did you? Who wrote that?
Oh shit! I gotta find out who.
Was that a text or was that a post?
Text. No, it was a text.
No, I want to talk about that because actually this is part of the problem, and I hope they keep that up. I hope that's the tone they take. I really do. Please don't stop doing that, because that's just every time somebody opens their mouth, that's another voter for the Republicans. You've got Hakeem Jeffries out there and his minions. So that's what you're going to offer the American people, huh? They're literally saying this. When we take the House, we're going to conduct investigations, and it's not just against Trump. We're going to go after members of his cabinet. And top of the list is probably Kristi Noem. Oh no, right? Department of Homeland Security. She's actually securing the homeland. But so they're going to investigate her. So that's what they have. Nothing about policy, nothing about inflation, right? Under Biden, remember that? 8%, depressed wages, open borders, blowing off national sovereignty, about the craze and the obsession over the, what is it, Nico? The categorical warfare. It's gender and sex and race and class. All of these obsessions that the American voter decidedly rejected in 2024. They're going to go right back to that shit, and they're broadcasting it. Mm-hmm. And so how in the world that's a winning strategy is way beyond me. So please, 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 I don't know who posted that or who texted it.
My buddy Matt sent it to me. It was from the Hodge twins. I guess they posted Tommy Lee.
Please continue.
This dude looks like he's gotten some bad work on his eyeballs. How old is Tommy Lee? How old is Tommy Lee? How old is that son of a bitch? I mean, he looks like, don't do that work if you're going to look like that. He says, you Trumpsters better pray that liberals never gain control of the White House again, because we're going to pay you back. We're going to pay you back so fucking hard for all this shit.
We're going to do a variation on the prayer.
The Democrats feel this.
We're going to pray that you keep talking like that. Yeah. That's my political prayer, if there's such a category. That you please, please, please keep talking like that, because you will remind voters why they voted overwhelmingly, which we just discussed in the last segment, for Donald Trump. Okay? For all of his weaknesses, they decided that they didn't matter. That what mattered most is not letting psychos in office who obsess over shit that the average American does not care about. So please keep talking like I can't believe politicians in Washington, D.C. are broadcasting that. That's phenomenal to me.
Well, I mean, it's not a broadcasting. It was.
I'm just saying, down to the grassroots. It's weird to me. I don't understand it.
But even Democrat advisors are trying to say, Democrats, change your tune. You can't keep saying we're going to resist Trump. That's got to be. And then Newsom doesn't know who the hell he is. I mean, he goes from trying to be reasonable, then he gets his ass handed to him because he was on Charlie Kirk and he sounded too reasonable. And then he goes on to Sean Ryan, who's another conservative podcast.
Is that the one where he says he's going to punch those sons of bitches?
Yeah, I'm going to punch. Then he goes from, I like my scarf. And then why did I sound like Trump when I did that? Well, he goes, because he's trying to be like Trump. Maybe that's why. He's trying to be Trumpish.
And then posting on all caps.
Well, I mean, it's just, and you don't even know who you are, guy. I mean, just be the little flower that you are. Wear your scarf. I'm going to punch some bitch. And who believes that Newsom's going to do anything? I mean, he's not a tough guy. He's not. No. He doesn't know who he is. So he's just shifting. Now he's trying to be Trumpish by calling people names, giving people this. I mean, I don't even know if he's a contender, but he's playing for it. He's trying. But they don't even know. I think they're looking for a party identity, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
Ironically, right?
A leader, an identity, an image.
But what are they arguing for? They're not talking about policies that are going to bless people. No. And I think that's the problem. I think that's the problem that they're running into, is they don't know what they stand for. I don't know if they keep just, they're making these conclusive statements. There's a threat to democracy. You said that over and over again, and people feel freer. They're freer to walk in D.C. They're freer to walk by the border. They're freer to travel. They're freer because the country is respected. They're freer because the economy is doing better. They're freer because they can think. They're freer because they can say what they're thinking. They're freer because they can. I mean, what do you mean it's a threat to democracy? That's such a line that's not been substantiated. And I just want to pause and respectfully ask, what do you mean by that? What's so threatening? What democracy are you talking about? And how are you not threatening democracy when people can't pray across the street from an abortion clinic?
Yeah.
When parents can't go to a teachers meeting and someone got arrested at a board meeting here in San Antonio. I mean, and so if you want to go down the subjective, non-emotional analysis on who's really a threat to democracy and what democracy means to you, we can do that. I don't think you're gonna win on that one, but we can do it.
I was trying to keep from. Well, you were just like, you keep saying it's a threat to democracy, but I'm kind of feeling freer right now.
You said
no. You keep saying that. I'm a threat to democracy. The Trump's a threat to democracy, but I'm kind of feeling freer right now.
I do feel freer. I mean, people don't feel canceled as much. I mean,
again, this is what he said with the gerrymandering. He's doing it because Trump's a threat to democracy, and Texas, by extension, is a threat to democracy. That was the reason.
But everything everything that they're saying the Republicans are doing
Right.
now.
They've
already done
They've
it.
got doctorates in doing what the Republicans are doing. It's an 83-17 split. I confirmed, unless my data source is in terms of the split in California. We were going back and forth. It's 83% to 17% split in terms of Democrats over Republicans in terms of representation.
I thought that was Illinois.
They're over 30. Also in Illinois, the numbers are uncannily similar.
Right.
About a 30-point difference. So they're at 83 to 17. So after this goes through in Texas is going to be around 78% representation. It's still less than California. Californians can do it. They could do it, but we can't. But we're the threat to democracy. So this is what I mean.
Do as I say, not as I do. You know how they think.
Getting back to the founders, this is precisely what the founders wanted to avoid. They always knew that there would be dipshits like Gavin Newsom. They always knew that because such is the human condition. But if you have an electorate that can count and can think and can reason and knows who they are and knows that there's this thing called a Constitution and a Declaration of Independence and that there's a Bill of Rights and let's say even 50% have read the Federalist Papers, some basic education that I got when I was in elementary and junior high school, and I had just arrived in the country in 77 and I was immersed in this stuff and fell in love with it early. And I was like, wow, I actually know what it means to be in this country, be an American. When people have a fundamental knowledge at that level, Nico, they can't be bullshitted as easily.
Right.
This bullshit doesn't fly. I don't care how many times you post on Instagram. And that's the problem. Newsom's not stupid. He knows, with respect, if you look at their voting record, the average Californian is not that bright. Because if you consider how they voted, they've been voting for their own demise. How's that smart? This is precisely what the founders wanted to avoid. Have a moral backbone, but also have an intellectual backbone. Have some intellectual curiosity.
Has anybody done the analysis? How did they look? I mean, they had a Republican governor at one point. Arnold. They had Arnold for a while. I mean, not that he was a bastion of conservatism, but I mean, he wasn't loony like these people at one point. I mean, so what happened? Have you ever done the analysis on that? About
he didn't particularly run what I would call a successful campaign. Didn't make a very good case. His policies were spotty. Economically,
how many terms did he serve?
I thought he served 2, didn't he?
But did he retire? Did he step down, or did he lose at the third election?
I don't remember on the third. I'm focusing on the second. I don't remember the answer to that question. But his tenure was not particularly impressive. And Arnold was not a conservative.
Right.
I mean, he really wasn't.
But he obviously ran under the Democrat. He did. Why did he run under the Republican Party?
But he was more.
Because he was married to Maria Shriver, which was a Democrat family. You know.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know. I mean, it obviously worked for him. But Arnold's no conservative. I mean, he was moderate at best. And so his policies weren't conservative policies. I mean, they were basically Democrat-light.
But for California standards.
Sure. Yeah, I mean, no question. I mean, he was much less crazy than we are now. And then with the illegal immigrant, I mean, you want to talk about the country. I mean, the state is just, in terms of illegal aliens, it's saturated in them. That was another thing. Talk about diluting of the electoral power. This started happening in the last 10 to 15 years in the aftermath.
And what was that state? Was it in California where that illegal was given a license and he did that U-turn?
Came from California. But
I mean, look at how can you give a license to someone who cannot
CDL.
read?
Yeah.
I mean, so they can't look at the signs because they can't speak English.
Yeah.
I mean, this is the ideas. These ideas suck. These are terrible ideas.
So sad.
And you have to ask why. But Newsom doesn't live in the world that he creates. Yeah. So he doesn't care. I mean, that's truly what an oligarch does. A small group of people that makes decisions to the whole for their small benefit. And he's part of that. So this about democracy, he's not part of the democratic process or a constitutional republic process because he's not amongst the minions. He was the dumb dick that, remember, said you can't have a mask and you can't go to a restaurant, and then he has no mask in restaurants with his high-end falutin people. That's the height of hypocrisy, and people keep voting this guy back in. And he's smooth. I mean, the guy is he's a slimy dude, man.
He really is.
I mean, he's got charisma. I mean, he's likable if you don't listen to the substance of him because he's got that personality. I don't think it's genuine. But I think he's just full of crap. I mean, he really, really is. But people keep voting his ass back in. So the question my mom said that Mayanne says, are you okay with people crying fire, yelling fire in a movie theater? No. There's analysis on that of whether that's even unconstitutional or not. I mean, that's not smart. I don't think it's unconstitutional. But the reason behind that, like, the example from the case law, is that if you yell fire, that people are going to get trampled. Well, if you yell fire, no one's going to run out of a fire. You're going to think, okay, this guy's nuts. Does he have a gun? No one's running out of a movie theater if someone yells fire. When I mean almost a free speech absolutist, if two people are robbing a store and one person has the gun, and the other person says, "Shoot that son of a bitch! We got to get out of here. We don't want any witnesses," and the other person shoots, that's not free speech. That's under the law of parties. That's capital murder. If you're robbing and you commit a murder during that enumerated felony. So that's what I mean. You can't just say anything, but I mean almost anything. That's why I say I'm almost a free speech absolutist. I mean, I'm as close as you're going to get. I believe in free speech. I do. And I believe in free thought, and I believe in free expression of that thought. Now, if you're telling someone to do a crime, that's different. That's not free speech. I mean, that's the conspiracy or a RICO or something like that. But you give a command. I mean, think about this. I mean, mob bosses gave a command speech to kill other people, even though they didn't kill under RICO. They're going to get held responsible under the law of parties here in Texas. They'll be held responsible. So I hope that answers your question. I mean, that's why I say I'm almost a free speech absolutist, but very few occasions where you can't. I don't believe you can't talk and share your thoughts.
Yeah, it's true. It doesn't seem why that would be make sense. Why that would be unconstitutional. Like fire in a crowd.
It was an example from a case law.
Not smart.
I'm gonna tell you, if we're first of all, we go to the movie theater. My family, I haven't gone in a long time, but when we go, everybody knows we like I sit in the back row. I don't want to sit up front. I want to sit in the middle. I don't want anybody sitting behind me. But if someone says fire, 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 first of all, I mean, my kids are going down and I'm drawing. I mean, because I was like, what do you mean? What's coming next?
I want to go to the movies with you.
No, I'm saying it's interesting. We never talked about that because you don't go to the movies that often anyway. We're avid moviegoers.
Yeah, these guys are.
Man, I routinely that's the rule. The last 6 seats in the back row. I don't want anybody sitting behind me. It's interesting.
Well, that happened in that one movie theater. Someone sat behind somebody and shot him.
Was that in Colorado?
No, but after that,
was
guy
on the
that
release.
Shot, yeah, I mean, I'm talking about it was later. Yeah, he shot someone in front and then shot everybody else. Yeah. It's terrible. You hate that you think that. I was talking every time I talk about self-defense, people have such a hunger, and we're gonna do some. Gavin, my wife, and she has a little company. Her and her business partners. She has 2 business partners, Stephanie and Anna, and they do a great job. They've done wonders on our social media, and we're gonna do more videos on legal issues because people have questions.
Yeah.
They have questions. I mean, about self-defense, use of force, use of deadly force. When can I do it? I'm not going to give you a checklist. We're going to talk about the law.
I love that.
And because people need to know, and we're getting a lot of self-defense cases. It's because people are getting
really.
Oh yeah, use of force. Just because. Here's what I tell people: every murder involves a killing, but every killing is not a murder. Mm-hmm. Every assault involves a strike, but every strike is not an assault. It depends on the context. It depends if you're defending yourself, if you're defending a third person, if you had the reasonable belief of apparent danger and was it imminent. And we have to analyze that and break that down. And that's always a longer.
Can you shoot through a door?
Depends.
If you see in your Ring camera that the person has a gun.
Yes.
Okay.
I mean, overall, think about reasonable belief, apparent danger. Is it imminent? Is it reasonable? You have you just look at your scenario. You said there's a camera. You have a Ring door. You know there's someone on the other side with a gun, and they're aiming it through the door, so they're going to shoot into your house. Yeah, you don't have to wait. You shoot through the door. Absolutely.
I saw an old dude on TikTok do that, and I was like, whoa.
Well, don't go to Karen's house, by the way. All right, guys. Any comments that we're going to address real quick before we wrap up? I'm going to get home to the kids. We got a box with the kids this morning.
And we were talking about Schwarzenegger, 2 terms.
Okay, you looked at
termed out then, right?
Definitely 2 terms.
Well, no, because Newsom's not termed out.
2 terms. 2-term max in California.
Well, why the hell? It seems like Newsom's been there forever.
Yeah, I think the special election that came up to try to recall him. I mean,
how long has Newsom been in office?
When is I was going to say Schwarzenegger, and then Jerry Brown, then Newsom. And
Jerry Brown was the one right.
Do you remember that?
How long are the terms?
They're 4-year terms.
I was going to say 15 years.
It seems like
it does seem like longer.
Well, hold on. When was Arnold Schwarzenegger in office?
He left office. He was in office from 2003 to 2003, 2011, and then Jerry Brown came in.
From 12 to what? To 20?
Gavin Newsom.
And then Newsom is from 20 to 28. Oh, I guess you're right. Yeah, I guess it makes sense. The numbers work out. All right. Thank you, George. Anything else, Karen? I'm going to wrap this up.
Everybody's good.
But
yeah, I was going to say Newsom's been in office 8 years for Jerry Brown. Newsom's been in office from 2019. And it's 2025 now, so 6 years. So he's got 2 years left.
Yeah, so that's why he's thinking about running for president.
He just won't shut up. That's why you think he's been there longer.
Keep posting in all caps. We won't notice that Trump does that.
Thank you for your attention in this matter.
I love
All right, guys, thank you for joining in. We appreciate your comments. Please comment. Share these conversations with people you think may enjoy them, and we enjoy having you. Thank you for having us in your life. God bless you guys. Have a wonderful weekend. Bye-bye.